Hi, it's Marcus from 4POS. Many years later, we started 4POS in 2005. It's now 12 years later. Um, it's time to show the world what our new 4POS touch screen looks like for restaurants. So I'm going to start off basically on the point of sale part of it, um, and then we'll work our way backwards so you can get an idea of what 4POS can do for you. Password for now, I'm just clicking enter. I haven't entered any passwords yet. Obviously, there's very strict password control on the system. What can be done, what can't be done. So the new 4POS allows for a proper floor layout. You can maintain your floor layout as you wish. I'll give you the quick design idea. So in my design layout, I've got all my little tables on the right hand side. I can click on decorators. I can have different structures on there. I can have all sorts of different things. I can have options for background names and floor names and so forth. I can go and change the layouts. As you can see, I can have different floor layouts for different sections of my restaurant. So I can go and say that's what my bar looks like. That's what my deck is. That's my default layout. My main restaurant area. And again, you can say, but these are real ugly pictures, and I most likely agree with you. You can design it, the picture layouts or the tables and something like that, all by yourself. You can then update it itself. It's not fixed by any means. You can add as many decorators as you want. You can move your little plants around and say, no, well, the plant is over there, or I have a little walkway there, and I've got a stair there, and. So again, in terms of structures, you can go and say, well, let's just put our stairs over there, and then you can make your stairs nice and big and say it's got to look like that, or whatever the case may be. Whatever works for you to make it easier for you. So the idea is that we'll build on this concept to go and say, all right, fine, a waiter can log into a different section, or this waiter works in this section at the moment. And when the waiter logs in, at the moment the software doesn't do it yet. In the next couple of weeks, months, it will be implemented. In other words, we can define then which waiter would work in what section, and as soon as they log in, that will become their own default layout, and they can access their own tables immediately. Um, Again, you must go and play around with it. It's quite simple. It's quite straightforward. You can move things around. You can put little TVs and stuff. If I go back to my bar section, that is my attempt at a drawing of a pool table. You might say that's rubbish, or again, you might say, oh, it's quite clever. At least I can see there's a pool table in there, and I can see in relationship to the pool table what the table next to it is called. It's table 107. And so forth. All right, so let's not dwell too much on that. So that's the concept of it. Again, let's just simply go into the system. I'll click on table 201. It brings up my table 201. I can say, yes, it's a 6-seater, but there's only 4 people sitting at the table right now. These guys like a nice big table. You can design your menu as and how you wish. At any time, you can press C for configure. The configuration screen will come up, and you can go and create new menus and new buttons and so on. So let's say, for instance, I want to create a new menu for desserts, and I can just go and put in desserts. I always get confused about the desserts, whether it's 1S or 2S. I think that's the desert. So let's do 2S's. If I'm wrong, I apologize. I am a Dutchman after all. Alright, so again, you can go and click on it, and you go and change your background color and say, well, I want it red or green or orange or whatever the case may be. You can even define your own colors and so on if you wish. Alright, so let's go to main courses. And in main courses, all I have right now is bangers, mash and gravy. Okay, well, I also want a T-bone 500 gram. So let's go through the steps. Okay, so I don't have a T-bone right now. There's 2 ways of doing it. The fastest, easiest way to populate your database is I'm going to click C for or press C for configure on the keyboard again. Click on the button where I want it up, and I'm going to say a quick button. And I'm going to say it's a T-bone 500 gram. Okay, press enter or tab, whatever the case may be, and the price is, argument's sake, 149.95, whatever. Okay. And as soon as I press enter, it creates the item, and immediately I can sell it. There's just nothing simpler than that. It just cannot be faster, cannot be quicker. Now, of course, now you want to get clever about this T-bone 500 gram of yours. And if I'm finished with my table, I can just say finish. Now the table will be populated there. As you can see, it did a little bit of a flash and whatever else. And there's my default table, my table 201. The default at the top of it says that the person that logged in is the default cashier. In other words, this company or this database, this demo that I'm doing, we haven't done password yet. That's just the default password that's being used. You'll see the screen flash or refreshes every couple of seconds. Bear in mind that you might have 2 or 3 or 10 of these machines around your business. In the next couple of weeks, again, we will release our Android version of our order taker, which will allow you to take an Android device and give it to one of your staff members, hopefully a more senior person, somebody that knows the menus quite well or knows the product and the ingredients of the products well, and they'll be able to go to the tables and take the orders, and you can get runners to physically just deliver the food. Okay, so let's leave it at that. I'm going to quickly log off the touchscreen system. I'm going to go back to my back office, and as I said, I want to make that T-bone a little bit clever. I want to put some cooking messages in there, so I'm just going to search for T-bone. As you can see, all our searches everywhere is quite intuitive. It's quite clever. It will know that it consists of any part of the word. So I want to go into my messaging, my cooking messages, and this menu that I've done, or this database that I've done, has got no messages in there. So let's go and create a couple of them. I'm just going to do the basics. Obviously, it can be as deeply involved as you wish. I've got a meat prep item there. I'm going to create some children underneath there. The children falls in underneath the heading, and I'm going to say rare. Let's just do a proper uppercase, lowercase, and I want to do medium rare, and I'll do medium. Of course, it will help if you can spell and type properly. And let's do a medium well, and also do a well done. Okay, alright, so that's my meat prep. In other words, that's how I want the meat to be prepared. I want to also create a new message for my starch. And in other words, what am I adding to that meal? So I'm going to click on that and say new child. So yes, the customer has the option of chips, and the customer have the option of veg. And again, you'll say veg of the day, doesn't really matter. The kitchen knows that it's veg, and they know what the veg of the day is, because after all, they've cooked it. So this is the instruction that you will send to the kitchen, or you'll set up your system to say print to the kitchen. All right. And then I also want a baked potato, but with baked potato there's a little bit of a catch. So I want to create a new message, because baked potato, I also want options on that. So I'll do it a different way around. I'll say it's a new message, and I'll say baked potato over there, and then I'll have new children underneath there. And typically Marcus will want sour cream, and butter. Alright, in other words, I want both. I also want just sour cream as an example. Alright, and the last one, I just want butter. Alright, possibly. Alright, so again, so now those are my main typical instructions. Now on T-bone, which is the product that I have up here, I want to allocate that. So I'm going to say meat prep, allocate that. You sure you want to allocate it? Yes, thank you. So as soon as I ring up the item, it will prompt me now and say, how do you want that? Okay. Now, leaving the cursor on the product, I will add my starch. And again, you'll see that clearly it says makes starch a product, a child of product. Yes. In other words, it's a main selection item. Now the trick comes in with the baked potato. So the baked potato, I want to add that it under starch, right? So I'm going to click on starch and then baked potato, and then clicked on allocate. All right. So now my starch button, you'll still see I've only got the 2 there, but as soon as I click on that, my baked potato actually opens up into the options. All right, so let's see whether that concept works. All right, I'm going out of there. I'm going to do just an update point of sale. In our software, we have the ability that you can do an update point of sale. In other words, you can maintain all your prices and your structures and everything at any time. And when you're ready, you can update it to the point of sale devices or softwares. It will go through the domain controller. Domain controller is the worker. It will always stay open. You can minimize it, do not close it. Okay, and then we've got our touchscreen. So let's go and enter in there. I want to go back to my table 201, add a transaction back to my main courses. I've got my T-bone, and here's my cooking messages coming up automatically. All right. In other words, I want T-bone, it's got to be rare. I want veg of the day. Yes, thank you. And I actually want another T-bone. And again, you'll see here that it displays quite nicely. So the customer, the waiter or cashier for that matter, can verify the order from the customer. Do not get it wrong. The customer will send it back and you will lose the money. Okay, so again, double check it, read it out, make sure that it's exactly what the customer asked. I know it's irritating for the customer. He wants to pay and go, but worth your while. All right, so I want the other one, another T-bone. I want that really rare. And I want a baked potato. And as soon as I bring up a baked potato, you see my other messages come up. And I'll prompt me and say, do you want sour cream or butter or both? Okay, so I want both. Thank you. And again, double check your settings and your selections there. All right. And I finished my table. So as soon as the table will now refresh, as you can see over there, it shows me my table 201. For the customers that do not use the layout, that green button is basically linked to what we call parameters in the system. So we can say over here, you can see a change table warning yellow color to yellow after 5 minutes. In other words, when do you want the system to show you that somebody's sitting on a table and not ordering anything? Okay, so after 5 minutes, in this case, it will change to yellow. Or you can say, well, after 20 minutes. In other words, for 20 minutes, this person has not ordered anything. So again, that will be our typical customer that walks in here, order one beer, and watches a whole game of soccer. No, we don't want him at the table. Sorry. Okay? You can sit at a bar, take a chair. But to take a table of 4 people and you're sitting and watching one game of soccer, it's not quite fair. You might not have enough space to cater for that. And then the same for red and whatever the case may be. Again, that type of person, definitely you don't want him in the business. In my opinion, come in, drink your beer, watch your little game of soccer or rugby or whatever the case may be, and then move on. And then the log off waiter, how long do you allow the waiter to be logged onto the system before the system will automatically log them off? So let's turn it to 10 seconds, argument's sake. And this is typically for a waiter that does not log out once they've rang up some items. All right. So if I'm on the system here and somebody logs off after 10 seconds, this login screen will come in. The system allows for fingerprint readers. So if you do have a biometric reader, a fingerprint reader, in other words, 4PAS supports the IDversal product range or product itself. Please do not go and buy any cheap fingerprint reader and say, well, I bought it, it must work, you must change your software. No, we're not going to do that. We have decided that IDversal is a good quality fingerprint reader. We don't need to cater for the 500 million possible options. That is the reader that we trust, and that's a reader that we will support. All right. So, good. So that's basically the layout of the table. Obviously, I can go into my table again. I can go and add something. I can print the bill. I can edit it something. I can change the waiter. In other words, I can change the waiter to somebody else, rename the table to somebody else, to another table number. In other words, the people might have moved. They moved from table 201 to table 202. Cash out table is obviously when I want to cash out the table. This is just for demo purposes. I've put in a bunch of things in here. You've got 255 characters at the bottom or the footer of the slip. You can add logos to the slip, etc., etc. The idea with the footer is that you can put in all your terms and conditions. Even if it's of a retail store, you can go and say returns will only be handled within 7 days, and you've got to have your slip there with a original purchase, and your mother and father over the age of 75 must accompany you at the time, whatever your agreements are. All right, and then now you can go and say, fine, it's cash, or it's credit card, or it's a debit card, or it's a check, or you can even say it's onto accounts. So if there are any accounts on the system, which in this case there isn't, that's why that just flashes at me, you can do that. You can handle multiple currencies, as you can go and see. You can set up your own currencies as you wish, with the rates and things like that. again, for this example, the US dollar is not necessarily correct. The rate to the US dollar to the rand is not correct. And again, if you don't want to see that, you just delete it. You can add value gratuity percentages in there, or gratuity as a percentage. In other words, you can say, I want to add, argument's sake, 10%. And it will add in automatically 44 Rand 99 in my example here to the bill. All right. Again, you can add a value gratuity. You can also do a value discount for that matter. Discounts, again, make sure that not all the waiters or cashiers has ability to do that. And so that you're not losing out on money. All right, so just to make it simple for now, I'm going to go back to cash and I'm going to say it's 500 Rand or 550 Rand for that matter. All right, and do you want to commit the transaction? Yes, thank you very much. And it will now pop and say, do you want to print, yes or no? Open the drawer, all the rest of it. All the configurations of the touchscreen system is quite simple. Again, you click on option menu, Control C, and now you can go and configure your printer. You can go and say where it must print in the kitchen, etc., etc. You can say enable floor layout, enable menu item images, which I didn't show you. So let me just give you the quick example of that. I'm going to go back to table number 2. Alright, so on my main courses, I don't have any pictures there. So let's go to toasters and burgers. I've got a burger and I can put a little picture of a burger on there. You might say, oh, but that's very small. Yes, I agree. It is very small. We want to still sell the item. So again, how would you know the difference between a cheeseburger and an egg burger, and a toasted ham and a toasted cheese, etc., etc. You know, so on your beers and stuff, it might make a little bit more sense, but I still believe that the colors are there. We've added up the picture ideas for the customers that insist on having it, so it's there now. The cold drinks as well. All right, so you can have all of those type of functionality. Alright, so let's go and see quickly in the back office what will apply for a restaurant. Obviously, reporting is critical. So if I go and say go to today, load reports, it will now go and pick up any transactions that I've had. I would be able to, first of all, go and look at my past transaction listing. I'm just doing it my sequence. Again, you might agree, you might not agree. Alright, so there's that T-bone. There's 3 T-bones that rang up at that price. It gives you a total amount. And it was cashed off. Alright, and I had a bangers and mash at a certain time. That's 4:28 a.m. When was that? Oh, this morning at 4 o'clock this morning. Somebody was working. Good. Alright, and then in terms of the reports, the main ones is reporting. The sales dashboard is a nice report. Gives you a nice breakdown about what the money and the turnovers are. Tells you what your percentage food cost is. Obviously, in this case, it's totally unrealistic. We can't make 98% profit. Or it tells me my sales channel breakdowns. It tells me my stock levels. Obviously, my case, I'm not doing stock at all. So I'm showing 48 million rands worth of negative stock. In other words, I've sold 48 million rands worth of stock, which I never had. Well, obviously that's not possible. Alright, but in any case, so it gives you a concept of that. And then the most important thing that people ask for, of course, is a product performance report. And a product performance report is like a sales report. So this is just the typical one in alphabetical sequence. So you can go and see, well, fine, you sold 1 bangers of mash, 3 T-bones, and of course the list will go on and on for all the different products that you had. All your figures will balance back to the dashboard effectively, and we're very proud of that the system is always in balance with itself. All right. So again, in this case now, everything is regarded as beer local, which is obviously wrong. Just on that point, I will be able to go back into my system, and let's go and look at my T-bone itself, and excuse the sound, and I'll be able to go over here and say no, that's not in beer local. I will want to put that into, I don't know, butchery items. All right, or whatever the case may be. And let's do the same for my stock group. But if the next question would come up would be to say, all right, fine, hang on, what about recipes and so on? Can your system handle it? Yeah, well, yes, we can, sir or lady. Let's go and take our burgers. All right, and let me just get this background back in there because it's a little bit distracting. Let's get that back in there. Thank you. Alright, so my burger bill of materials, no, I don't have one yet, but I want to take a bill of material for a burger, and I would say at time of sale, I want to add some items. So let's start with a bun. And yes, I've got a burger bun, and the quantity is one. Obviously, one burger bun that goes in there. And I want to also add some patties. Uh, Alright, so there's a burger patty, and well, I'm paying 5 Rand, 32 Rand for a patty. That's quite expensive. Not even know if that's realistic or not, but let's take that, and let's say we add some tomato in there. Let's see if I've added tomato. Yes, I've got tomato per kilogram. Obviously, I don't want to add a kilogram there, so I'll click on there and I'll type in there 0. I don't know, let's call it 100 gram, right? So 0.1. You always take the quantity or the weight of the product divided by how it is purchased in. All right, and that's my cost. So it tells me that my burger cost me now 43 Rand. Um, oh, sorry, I made a boo-boo. I made my burger bun 0.1. Let's just make that back to 1, and let's go and change my tomato as 0.1. Sorry about that. And again, check your things. Don't just assume that you've done it right. You might have made a boo-boo like I've just done. Alright, so my burger now cost me 10 Rand 24, which is more realistic, but let's just go and double check it in terms of pricing. In my 40-40-20 video, which I did earlier today, I said that my burger will cost me 49.95, argument's sake. Alright, so if that is the case, then my GP percentage, in other words, my food cost percentage is 76%. Now, again, food is the other way around, which means that this is now sitting at 24%, which is very, very low. I'll be very fortunate if that is the case. In other words, if my burger does cost me that, most likely I've got a big boo-boo there, because that should be that GP percentage on my screen now should actually show around about 60 odd percent. Okay, 65 maybe. It's a for 35% food cost and so on. I know it gets confusing, but take your 100% profit and minus your GP percentage to get your cost of sale, your food cost percentage. For retail, it's totally different. Okay, so retail is easy to work on this, because at retail we've got a cost in the selling, and typically we'll make you 20, 25%, 30% even profit on there if you're lucky. But food is the other way around. In other words, food will be very, very high profit percentages, theoretical profit percentages, because of all the rent and stuff that's obviously much higher as it is in retail. Retail is typical 1%, restaurants we're looking at 15% or more. You will know your business better. So do the sums. If you haven't watched the 40-40-20% video, do yourself a favor. I think it will save you a little bit of money. Alright, so that's the bill of materials. Obviously, every time I sell a burger now, it will not go and deduct from the burger itself. So if I look at my history, in this case now, it shows -7, okay, burgers, because I did not have a bill of material in there. Alright, so as soon as I go and sell another burger, the system will now jump through and go and say, oh, hang on, there's a bill of material now. Let's go and update the system. And, oh, sorry, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to ring up a burger, so let's do a burger. Ring up a Coke with that burger, and I'll accept it and finish it. Oh, sorry, let me, yeah, never mind. That's just my printing part of it. Oops, sorry, I'm jumping around here. Let's go back to my table. I want to cash it out. I've got to just cash it out. Let's say a customer paid me 14 Rand. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Those prices obviously are still wrong, because I haven't done an update point of sale in the back office, if you remember. Alright, so let's do that at the same time. Alright, and I'm going to do update point of sale. Okay, and again, my touchscreen, my queue is still 1. The queue is the transaction that has not been updated by the controller. The queue has just gone to 0, which is a nice way. Effectively, it means that we have an offline mode system. In other words, if your server goes down, your network, whatever the case may be, each and every one of your till points can run on offline mode. In other words, they can keep on trading. Not like the other systems, that when the server goes down or your network breaks, you close your business and you arrest everybody. Okay. Oh yes, and of course we have this very nice little screensaver that we designed. Okay, so after your number of seconds that the system is inactive, it'll pop up and show a little screensaver there, so we can get some advertising and your screens don't burn. You can leave your screens on at night without worrying about it. Alright, so let's get out of there. I'm pressing escape or mouse tab, anything, any one of those would be good enough. Alright, and let's get back to our back office system. and I'm going to click on my burger again. Alright, and let's go and check the burger. Oops, sorry, and I go to history, and my burger has gone down to 0 because it's updated all my bill of material items. In other words, I want to go and look at my, argument's sake, my tomato now, and there's my tomato per kilogram. And if I look at the history there, it's taken out the 7. Remember the -7 that we had earlier? 7 times, or sorry, plus the one that we just sold to activate the process. So that's 8 in total times 0.1. That was my bill of material. So it tells me there immediately that my default warehouse stock quantity is minus 0.8. Okay, and that will apply to burger patties and buns and whatever else. If I look at my buns, for instance, buns I've set up a little bit differently, in my opinion, better. So I've set my burger buns and say that my supply quantity is 12. So when I buy 12. I buy a dozen. I pay $13.50 for a dozen, and when I sell it, obviously, if I look at my selling prices, it's for a single. Alright, so that's already calculated that the cost is that. So again, if I look at the history of that, it's also done -8, meaning 8 buns that's gone out of stock. And again, you can do something fancy like this, or maybe not fancy. The same with burger patties. Burger patties is 50 and a pack. I buy a box of 50, and again, the stock will be kept in singles. So if I look at that, also it's -8. All right. You can do all sorts of combinations. Argument's sake, you've got coffee and you've got sugar sachets, and you buy it in a box of 1,000 or 100 or whatever the quantity is, and you can use your supplier quantity. For the customers that haven't picked it up yet, this is the supplier quantity. It doesn't mean that my stock in hand at the moment. Stock in hand, it will show under history to show your current stock level. These are my current stock levels. All right. I think that that's about it that I want to show you quickly about the system. Maybe just a quick rundown on the rest. Obviously, we can do order processing. We can create orders for our suppliers. We can process the GRV, fancy word for goods received voucher, saying that I'm buying from the supplier and this is what I'm buying, etc., etc. Obviously, reporting, you've got a whole stack of reports, analytical. You can get stock movement reports out of it. So if I just quickly try and impress you there, if I go to my stock movement summary report, and I'll just say, well, yeah, I'll load it for the default warehouse, then my stock summary report will tell me exactly what's going on with each and every product. So again, my burger buns starts off with 0, and I've had sale 8 used in a bill of material, and there's 8 as the closing stock. This report is now printing for you only on items that is got a movement on. It does not print each and every product that's in the database. So your database might be huge, but it will only print items that has either opening stock or a closing stock or GRVs or anything. So it's a typical stock movement report, which in my opinion is the whole process of stock. What did I start off with? What did I buy? What did I sell? What was used in shrinkage, in other words, stock takes, what was used in a recipe, what was used in a bill of material. Now, bill of material is at the time of sale. What did we've also got an option in the system that says make finished product. That's typically used for a bakery business or supermarket that has got a bakery, and they manufacture 400 loaves in the morning. So in the morning they will go in and say we've just made 400 loaves. So now you've got 400 loaves in stock, and the ingredients of those 400 loaves have been taken out. And then the bill of material, as the sale happens, will be deducting from there. Transfers out maybe to other warehouses, and then your closing stock. This 100 Pipers whiskey, this -1 million, was just stock testing stock. So obviously I can just go out of the system and physically go and maintain, do a stock take adjustment of that. I think that will be under spirits. I'm not sure. Let's double go and check quickly. No, there's nothing there. Let me just go and see where my 100 Pipers are. Not really part of the demo, but I think a good exercise. So this is under spirits imported. So my stock groups is how my stock takes will work. Stock take adjustments is to enter physical stock. It's not intended to be the way that you would enter stock that you bought. All right. Alright, so of course I have now not looked properly, and this is normal. After all, I am a man, so I have an excuse. For the ladies, that they will enjoy that. Poor men, we always have a problem. So let's just go and say spirits white, whatever. It's not really white spirits, I understand and I agree, but just for the sake of this argument, let's just get it back there. My goodness. Oh, sorry, it is spirits white. Alright, and again, that quantity there, I might only have 5 bottles in stock. Okay. And again, if I go back to my stock, and that, by the way, is as quick as its stock take is. So if I go back to my history on that item, obviously I've got my 5 in stock, and it will tell me what my sales were over the last 7 days, weeks, and months. This history, by the way, only gets updated when you do a day and not at the time of sale. So to cater for any ups and downs and things like that. So just take that in consideration when you say, but my stock is not working. It is working. It only gets updated. All the other stock figures are updated within seconds of you doing the transaction. In other words, as you could see, as soon as the transaction gets updated from the point of sale, it will appear in any and all of my reports. Okay, so if I look at my dashboard report now, my stock figures are already updated, and now my stock levels here would also be updated. So if I go to today and load the new report, I look at my sales dashboard, suddenly my stock figures will be a lot better than what it was. Yes, my opening stock was 48 million, but because of my shrinkages, in other words, the correction that I made on my stock, it will come out correctly. Alright. So that's a new look and feel of the 4POS Touch and availability. You must most likely have 1,000,001 questions. Can it do this? Can it do split tables? And so on. Yes, we can do split tables. In terms of payment, we do not allow you to move items from one table to another. We do allow you to split a table in the sense that one table can become 3 other tables. So I can say that yes, we had a big table, we want to put 3 Cokes and 3 Fantas from this table to the other, but it does not allow you to do the move backwards. In other words, I can't move a Coke back from one table to another. There's just too many loopholes for waiters to steal with. So we just simply do not allow that. Again, you might agree, you might not agree. But again, our responsibility is to the owner of the business. We want to make sure that he gets the return on his capital at all times. That is my couple of minutes of video for the touchscreen system. I hope you like it. If there's any questions, welcome to email us on support@4pos.co.za. Thanks for your time.